Hello everyone, it's PiggyBank bringing you another interview. We have a super special guest today. It is none other than Set to Destroy X, GoreMagala. How are you doing today, Gore?
I'm doing great, just enjoying my time. I'm glad to be here, thank you for the opportunity and everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here for the interview at all. And once again, congratulations on winning Neopunch, Don't Get Punched. I was happy to see you win because I lost to you.
I see. So that's the whole reason behind everything.
No, that's not it.
I know.
So, you had a really clean run. You only lost 3 games in the entire tournament. Who do you think was the toughest fight in this tournament?
I mean, it's hard to say because, everybody picks different characters and they all play them a little differently, especially with, arms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for me, every matchup is kind of different. If I had to, pick one that I was really anxious about, at least when I was playing it, it was with Nobi.
Oh.
Because in round 2, I accidentally forgot to ban Via Dulce. Because Via Dulce is, corner pressure, Haven. And I know he's going to use Slapamanders. And I got super scared, and then he started cornering me, and for a second I started to panic and everything, and then he got me there, so it was oof. And then in the second one I ended up going to Buster Beach, for the extra space, and it was still a tough match, and I have so much respect for him, especially because as a twin tail and all that. I know a lot of people usually give twin tails a certain bias, but twin tails still take skill, and Nobi shows that for sure. And it was still a close game, but thankfully I was able to I was able to pull through. I was worried I might have actually lost that set, but I was I was able to pretty much just go through with it. But I mean, also there was Rafa too, who has a really clever setup with the whole Megaton and the popper. The way he tries to poke with it, and he actually did something really clever because he would do uncharged shots with the popper to take me out of tower mode. Because, one would slip through and, hit me in tower, as opposed to if you use, a charge shot. Because if you use a charge shot, I just need, one punch to go through it. So, if he did the uncharged one, it would, take me down. And, of course, it's just he used poppers to hit me in puddle mode and all that. And then, he switched to Springman, which was, unexpected, too.
So, what do you think Rafa did differently to take that one game during the grand finals?
Okay, so there was a lot of different factors that went there. I know, I believe he switched to Springman, and I'm oh, okay, he's gonna go Springman again. Let me just use nades, right? And I didn't want to switch out my Tri-Bolt or my Hydra because I use those for his Cobra. So I'm just in case he goes Cobra and tries to pull one on me, I'll keep those. So I switched my Toasters for nades. And usually, nades are generally good against Springman, but against his in particular, it didn't really work, especially because he was a bit more evasive and because of the map and everything. Secondly, the very fact that he picked Springman in general, to my knowledge, he's never done that before. It's the first time I've seen it. So it's just, whenever I fight somebody new or there's a new tactic, it takes me a while to adjust. So it's I have to download all the information I'm getting and everything. And lastly, it was Ramen Bowl. It's a map that I think Helix is very has a big disadvantage in, because a lot of enemies, they could just stay in the middle and then they could corner Helix. Helix can try to escape, but it's a circle, so he can't go anywhere. And, the fact that they're in the middle gives them, the advantage. So, even if Helix tries to puddle, the shots still go forward. So you'll hit Helix even if he puddles anyway. And same thing with, Tower and everything, too. So, everything that makes Helix is, nullified there. So it just kind of, combined, yeah.
But then you two had a run back in that same stage, and you still managed to win the game. So, what do you think was the adaptation you needed to pull that win?
Well, usually the longer I fight somebody, the better I get with them. So by then I'd been a little bit more used to his Springman. And it was still Ramen Bowl, so it is what it is. But I think the biggest difference is the fact that I switched back to my trusty Toasters. Because the Toasters, they come back faster. They have a really fast charge speed. So when they're charged, they can, they're not as slow as the nades. They don't self-destruct on me accidentally. And importantly for me, at least against his Springman, is that they have homing. So, sometimes it's I don't have to be super precise with my shots. I could, okay, this one's going to land no matter what I do. So instead of focusing on aiming it, I could focus on moving instead. and that led to just a general comeback. I would suppose. I feel like the arm choice in that sense was the biggest factor.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really insightful. So, not a lot of people play Helix in high level play, let alone at your level. So, what made you pick up Helix to begin with and stick with him?
Well, okay, so I actually started as a twin tail main,
Oh.
and I was back in the day. I was like playing with like NeoGaf people, but then they're like, Gore, like you're too hard, so there's like it wasn't like fun for them. So I'm gonna go, okay, I'll just pick like Helix because like everybody thinks he's like low tier and he's like a joke character, so I'll just fool around with him. And then like after a while, I started like really digging his movement and the way he was and like his personality, and I kept on improving to the point where they're like, dude, your Helix is worse than your twin tail. Like, what's going on here? And that was pretty funny. And I don't know, I really like the way he's like very versatile. Like, if somebody's being defensive, I could just be like, nah, man, I'm not going to play your game. I'm going to be the defensive one. I'm going to build rush here. You have to come to me, or else you're going to pay for it. Alternatively, I could be like offensive. So I could be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to knock you down. I'm going to puddle. What am I going to do? Am I going to jump? And I'm going to go back to puddle? Am I going to grab? I just like the mix-ups he could do. And then just, I suppose, the general like fluidity of him, I suppose. Like he's not fast, but everything just connects in a way that I kind of enjoy. I suppose that's why I stuck with him.
Do you think that the existence of the custom and default rule set is hurting you as a player?
I mean, as a player, I wouldn't particularly say so, because I mean, I could play with either one. Like, I could just play Helix and customs, and like in defaults, I could play Brass or Spring, or I guess Springtron now that he's out. But as a community, I feel like it could be hurting the community a little bit, because like there's the whole like debate and everything that's going on, and people are like trying to like choose sides and everything. At the end of the day, I mean, I like to see offline customs. That's just my preference. But for now, until like things change or something, we're stuck with defaults, which I'm just gonna have to go with. But at the end of the day, you're just gonna have to like enjoy whatever you like to enjoy. If you like defaults, go defaults. If you like customs, go customs. One thing I do want to mention though is that I dislike the sense of like I'm not pride, but just like I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like whenever like I see this like often, somebody's using defaults and they lose to somebody in ranked who's using customs, and they're like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. They were using customs. Like in my opinion, that loss is still like as valid, if that makes sense. Or like if a default user beats somebody with customs, they're like, oh my goodness, yes, like I beat something that's impossible because they were using customs, so I should be like praised more. You know what I mean? And same thing with somebody who's like using customs and like he lost to a default. He's like, wow, you lost even with customs? Like you must be bad. Or if you win with customs and they're using defaults, it's like, oh, well, of course you were going to win. You were using customs, or like, things like that. And I just don't like that whole disparity between the two sides. Like, if you lose, you lose. It doesn't matter. There was something you did wrong that you could have done differently. Especially because I feel like everything is viable. Custom sets are viable. Every default set is viable, because we've seen amazing default helixes, amazing like Lola pops and everything. So it's just a matter of skill and like adaptation and reads and everything, in my opinion.
Wow, I actually agree a lot with that sentiment.
Yeah.
But speaking of your choice of character in the default format, you have chosen to use Max Brass in the default rule set so far.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose to go with Max Brass? Because to me, Max seems to be a polar opposite to Helix for the most part.
Well, yeah, he's definitely like an opposite in terms of, I suppose, like general playstyle, especially in defaults. In defaults, Helix is more like of a zoner type of thing, and just like the way he moves. But for me, I'm generally like more of an aggressive player, unless I'm forced to not be an aggressive player. And Max Brass really fit that, because I have the deflect, I have the armor, I could just go like ham on somebody, I could rush them down and just make them lose like all their life in like 12 seconds and things like that. But nowadays I might actually I'm considering not using Max Brass anymore, considering he's been nerfed, and what Springman in general, Max Brass loses to Springman, and just the general fact that Springman has like very top tier defaults. So I might just use Springman instead, or maybe Springtron now that he's out, and more goes into that. Especially now because I'm sponsored and everything, I'm going to have to go to tournaments, and they're going to be defaults, and sure, I'll enjoy customs, but I have to do what I have to do to win when it comes to defaults. And right now, using Springman or maybe Springtron is going to be, a really big help in that sense.
I see.
Yeah.
Speaking of having to go to tournaments, I know this is rare, but I heard from Nobi that sometimes in Nintendo sanctioned tournaments, they force you to use motion controls. How do you feel about that, and are you prepared for it?
I haven't used motion control since like the Test Punch days, but I mean, I don't feel they're as foreign, as people make them out to be. Like, I think once I was playing it in tabletop mode, and I forgot that using 2 Joy-Cons by themselves automatically makes it motion, so I just went with that, and it wasn't too bad. And I enjoyed the like accuracy that you could do with individual arms.
That's great. Now, let's get into some of the fun questions.
Alright.
I noticed by pure coincidence, I was checking my friend list during the tournament, and I saw you were playing Doom. So, what's the reason behind this? My impression was this. This guy has nerves of steel. He can just play whatever in between matches and not feel bad about it.
Okay, so there's like little layers when it comes to that. Like, first of all, when I was in that tournament, I was in my brother's house, and he had bought Doom for his Switch. So when he was like letting me borrow it and play it, he really wanted me to finish the campaign because that was the last day I was going to be in his house. And, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll play it like in between sets. Meanwhile, as for when it comes to like my state of mind, I would say I was like generally pretty confident when it comes to that. Because I mean, I know who I'm going to be fighting. Like, I know like Rafa is and everything. And even if I didn't know who they were, just like playing them once as like a certain character, I would get the general gist of them. So I don't generally like feel fear or intimidation when it comes to people. Like, my mindset's pretty normal. Like, even if I'm like at like that magic pixel, I'm still able to like, keep my, my head focused. I'll be like level headed and everything and try to make like the best decisions even if I'm about to die. And I feel like that's something that's important when it comes to players. It's just, making sure you don't crumble under pressure and all that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the next question is, what's it like to be one of the only sponsored players in the ARMS community?
Well, I didn't think I'd actually get this far. It's like that Plankton meme where it's like, in SpongeBob, whoa, I didn't think I'd get here. But it's a big, I guess like I'm proud of it. And in a way, it's like a part of the community is on me in a way, especially because I'm going to like tournaments and stuff. So like to a certain extent, it's like, I have to help out the community with tournaments and like to getting the attention and everything. But it feels amazing, especially like with Resolve. He's like my partner and everything. He's an amazing guy. He's really cool. But it's like a dream come true. So hopefully things go well. I want to try to push ARMS in the future, when I go to tournaments. I mean, my phone's been like iffy a little bit lately, so I can't really like text as well or as much. But like I know, like I was trying to like tweet as much as I can, be as active as I can to try like spread the word and spread the game and everything. So it's just, it's a dream come true. It's awesome.
All right. That's awesome to hear. So, do you have any other games you like to play?
I play like pretty much everything, man. Like, I mean, well, obviously you've seen Doom. Like, I was playing Skyrim. I was playing LA Noire. There's like Binding of Isaac that I got recently. SteamWorld Dig. I'm excited for Xenoblade 2 coming out tomorrow.
Oh, me too.
That hype.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8. And I've generally only had Nintendo consoles, so that's like where my bias lies. Monster Hunter and stuff like that was also great. It's just I'd say I'm pretty like a Renaissance person when it comes to that. And we also had like a PS4 for a while, so Last of Us 2 was an amazing game. Your general Call of Duty stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty open to anything.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah. So, how much do you practice usually?
Too much, man. Too much. Like, I mean, if you see like how many hours I have right now. I think I have like 600, 700 hours around there. It's just, generally I just go to ranked, and that's where I get a lot of my practice. Sometimes I do friendlies, and like I'll admit sometimes it gets pretty bad because it's like I keep forgetting that like I have to give people turns. So like I'm just like I'm ready to get into the next fight and to learn more. That like people like don't go, and it makes me feel so bad. It's just the worst.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, so I'm trying to be like more conscious about that. And one thing I also lab the game a lot too. I go into like training mode, see what I could do and things like that. And another thing I do is that it's funny. I go to I fight level 7 AIs just because I know that like for me at least they're much harder than like any human I could ever fight. Just because they know what I'm gonna do before I do it. So it's like, well, let's see. I'm gonna have to find some way to get around this, So I just find, like, if I fight something that will be able to predict my every move, I'll have an easier time fighting a person who won't be able to predict my every move. If that makes sense.
Well, that is the difficult part of fighting level 7s for sure.
Yeah.
But I do find it surprising that you find level 7s harder than most people.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Does this mean that you're a read-based player? Because you cannot read a level 7 and they react to everything.
Yeah, like I feel like high-level arms is mostly based on reads. And if you look at my gameplay, a lot of my gameplay is based on reads. Like if you look like frame by frame, you'll see like somebody's moving or somebody's blocking. And if somebody's blocking, I usually don't hit them where they're blocking. I move the arm to the side to where I think they're going to dash to after the block. If that makes sense. Stuff like that.
So finally, do you have any tips for the viewers who want to get better at the game?
Oh, when it comes to spontaneous tips, I'm not that good, especially because like this game is like really good when it comes really big when it comes to death and everything. So I mean, like I said, at least when it comes to me, like focus on your enemy more than yourself, I would say, because the enemy is like usually what matters when it comes to like whether you want to lose. But at the same time, you can't forget about your own patterns too, like especially like on wake up if you're being pressured. Like a lot of the times they're more focusing on what is he gonna do when I stand up. When in reality it's like you're the one that's always been moving to the right and jumping to the right every time. So you have to focus on your own patterns. You if you're really new to the game, you should try to focus on like poking, making sure that you don't punch with both hands at the same time. Don't grab that often at all. Focus on charging your arms, knowing when to charge, knowing when to use your abilities, knowing, what elements mix and match with certain other elements. Let's see. Blocking is also really important too. I mean, I don't do it that much because I'm a Helix main, so I don't usually have to block that much unless I really have to. But like against arms like Chakrams or Thunderbirds, blocking can be super helpful. Another thing to keep into note is like rushes and types of rushes. Like, okay, so Rams, Chakrams, all the gloves, Funchucks, Tri-Blast, and I believe revolvers and retortures and stuff like that. Their rushes are all like flurry rushes, so it's like they generally do less damage, but they like have multiple hitboxes. So if you punch them, like you won't be able to stop them, so they'll keep coming at you. Those type of rushes, they're best for blocking. Or if you try to dodge, you'll really like miss out a bunch of the time. So it's like those I recommend to block more. But some like on the contrary, rushes like Thunderbirds and stuff like that, they count as like automatic rushes. Like they have one animation, and if they hit you, they'll go into an attack animation. But if you're able to like say, okay, so a Thunderbird becomes a heavy when it's in rush. If you have a heavy like a Megaton, and somebody rushes you with, a Thunderbird rush, or like say double Thunderbird, right? And you have a Megaton, you could use that one Megaton to stop at least one of their birds, maybe both of them if you hit them like right in the middle. So it's like with one Megaton, you're able to stop the rush, and because like it's automatic, it stops the animation, so that it gives you enough time to block pretty much. So, and also generally those type of rushes, since they're like one and done, they're a lot easier to evade. So like, especially since birds have like a certain pattern, you could just evade that and you'll be able to block. So it just depends on what you want to do. Usually flurry rushes are the ones that land the most. So you want to, get a height advantage because that's always important. And just in general, make sure to like be careful with like the weights of the rushes and everything. Because like a really well-timed flurry rush with like double gloves or like Funchucks can beat out a Megaton rush. So it's like as long as you have like the height advantage. So it's just a bunch of those things you have to keep in mind.
Wow. That was a lot of details.
Yeah.
You know what that tells me?
What?
You have a lot of love for this community.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So where can people find you?
Okay, well, I try to maintain a social media presence. I have a Twitter account at STDX GoreMagala. Again, my phone's a little bit iffy, so it's like I can't really expect to do much. I'm also on Discord, Arms Central, the Reddit Discords are usually the ones I'm the most active in. Other than that, I'm on the subreddit, so I might text there from time to time. It's been a while. And I believe those are the main things that I'm at when it comes to ARMS. I might be missing a few things, but yeah.
I will be putting the links on the screen and in the description as well. So once again, thank you very much, GoreMagala, for the interview.
It's been a pleasure, man.
I really hope to see you continue to do great things.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, he's one combo away from getting this victory. Knocks the explosion away, one punch away.
Oh, there he goes.
He does it. Gore is your don't get hit champion. $240 going to Gore's PayPal account.